should be able to see my PowerPoint. Everyone, again, my name is Vasa Generali. I'll be leading today's session, and the topic is change management and service catalog. We've gone through all the other ones last week, so this is our last session today. So with change, we'll go through a few slides and then do our usual demo in the tool, and then we'll move to the service catalog. I'm getting some background noise. So we'll start with some introduction. Change management is a process responsible for managing all changes to the production operations environment from inception to completion. Now in ServiceNow we have three types of changes. We have a normal change, so that one will need approval from CAB. CAB stands for Change Advisory Board. Then we have standard changes. Those are low-risk routine changes that happen often, and we can create templates for those. And then we have emergency changes. So since we need to restore service immediately, and we skip through a few of the stages, but those are logged within ServiceNow as well. Out of the box states within now, we have new. That's when the change is first created. Then it moves to the assess stage. So this is where it needs peer review and technical approval. Then it moves to authorize. This is where the CAB will need to approve the change. And then it either moves forward, or if it's rejected, then it goes back to new. Then scheduled, this is when we set the planned start and end date for the change. Then implement, it moves to the implementation time, where it logs the actual start and end date. It moves to the review, stay closed, and canceled. Now, a little bit on the workflows. Normal change would go through each one of the states here. Other change would skip the assess and authorize. Because this is a routine change, it wouldn't need to get approval from the technical team or viewed. It goes straight from new to scheduled. And we have an emergency change where it skips the assess stage because, again, it's emergency change. It doesn't need to go through technical peer review, and it moves straight to authorize and the rest of the states. This is a screenshot of standard change templates. In your environment today, you have one template, but you can create as many as you like. And what this does is it fills some of the fields within the change form. So if you do click on that template, it would pre-populate a lot of the fields for you. This is a screenshot of the change record. So again, following the same standard of ServiceNow, keeping the forms consistent. At the top, you would have the main fields and be able to categorize the change. And then you're able to see that the stage is on the top and the progression. So when it moves to the next stage, then it checks off. You can see the progression on the top of the form. And in the middle of the form here, we have the main details. So this is where you would log your justification, backup plan, risk and impact analysis, and any key information, such as closure notes when the change is actually closed. At the bottom, things such as change tasks and approvers. So your approvers, for example, for the CAB would be listed here on the bottom, as well as any change tasks for any given change. Also, risk assessments. For example, for standard changes, we have one risk assessment that would be listed down here. And we actually do decide to close the change. We do a pop-up of two mandatory fields, the close code and the close notes. So you would have to fill them out before actually closing the change, and ensures that the proper documentation is logged within ServiceNow. So I'm going to pause here and switch to my instance. Okay. And logged in as Troy. So Troy is an ITIL user. He does have access to the change application and its modules. So I'm going to start typing change here. Now we do see that for change, we don't have as many of the states here, but you do see the states in the progression tracker up on the top of the form, like we saw in that screenshot. So the overview one, again, this shows the dashboard for change management. So this is where you would have any changes up here and any dashboards or reports with this page. Again, you can modify these or add any content to it. Out of the box one, so it shows what's out of the box. When we do all, this displays all changes regardless of the state. Close includes all closed changes, but also it includes any canceled changes. It just filters based on the active is true black, so this would be active is false. It's off of that filter up here. If we click open, these are any open changes. And of course, create new, which leads us to the form. So click on create new. We'll go through the 3 scenarios of creating changes. We'll start emergency one. So go ahead and create an emergency change and progress it through the workflow. So all of our fields are pre-populated. We can choose the category. I'm going to go ahead and choose hardware, the impact, and the description. And how you have it set up in your environment, you would have to fill out justification, implementation plan, risk impact analysis, backout plan, and validation before saving this record or submitting the record. So for the purposes of the demo, I'm just going to put some data here. And fill in assignment group. I'm going to save this change. So I'm going to hit save. Okay. Once I save this form, I can go ahead and request approval. It is that I do need to fill the planned end and the planned start date. So that would be in the schedule tab. I'll go ahead and choose today's date for my planned start date and the fill out date for my end date. And update the record. It gives me a pop-up that I need to fill out a risk assessment. So click this here. So this is a pre-populated risk assessment that we have, and you choose from the multiple choice here. So I'll change some of the choices and then submit. Oh, and then it didn't save my date. Okay. We do see that now we're in the authorized state, so it skips the assess, but we are in the authorized. And remember, this is an emergency change. Now, if we scroll down, we see that we have, I'm getting some background noise, so if you can please mute your line. If we scroll at the bottom, we see we have 4 approvers. We just need 1 approval for this change to be approved. And then see that we have that risk assessment that we filled out with the 4 multiple choice questions here. So I would need to impersonate one of these people here. I'm going to impersonate Erica. And I'm going to just save the change number here that ends in 181. Logged in as Erica, and I can go to my application navigator and type my approvals to view any approvals that have pending. Now see our change. It's 1-1. One nice thing here is that you can directly approve the state from the list view here. So I can click approved and it will be approved. Or I can go directly in the form itself if I want to see more details. So we do see the change number here, the subject, and then approve it from this record. So I'm going to approve the change and impersonate Troy again. Now get back to my change in 181. See that this change was approved by Erica. I'm going to progress the change now, so I'll hit on the implement button, and we see that the change moves ahead, and then we do see that the state also moves to the implement stage. Again, we do see that you only need one approval. The other ones, instead of pending, it says no longer required. We also do see that we have two change tasks. So who is working on this change, we do recommend as best practice to work off of the tasks. So we do have two tasks here. I'm going to progress and hit view. So we do see that the workflow is working as expected. Then before closing the task, go into these, or can directly change the state from close complete to close complete. So as you're working this task and ready to close it, you can update it. And then same with the second task. So I can change state from the list view here. So now hit close complete. So now both of my change tasks are close complete. I may decide to close the task. And of course, by now you would have all this information already logged, documented in ServiceNow. We have a schedule of the planned start date and the end date that we put in when we first opened the change, and it does log the actual end and the actual start date. So, information that we need. Notes tab here, it functions as any other record within ServiceNow. So you can add people to the watch list, get updates for this change record, add people in the work notes list. This is usually fulfillers or people that would be working on the change tasks. You can add individuals, or you can enter an email here. And then additional comments, of course, are customer visible. And then with the work notes, so you can toggle this on and off, and it would display both. So you have them both visible on the form. So I'm going to go ahead and close the task, and it gives me a pop-up, a close code and close nodes to be filled in. So to my closure information tab, and I'm going to indicate that this change was successful and close nodes. Update the record. So now we see that the change is closed, and the state of the change is closed as well. And we do see that both of our tasks are closed. So, and a best practice would be to close off the tasks, and then you would close the change request itself. So before we move on to demoing the standard change, are there any questions for the emergency change? Okay. So we tested the emergency. We'll move on to the standard change. So these are pre-approved, and there's templates for them. So we test standard change, and we see here that a lot of these fields are pre-populated. See, they're read only. And you only need to fill out the risk impact analysis and justification. type is standard and the state defaults to new. I'm going to go ahead and click on schedule and to fill out an assignment group. Do notice that because this is a standard change, it skips the assessed and the authorized states. The routine change again, so a lot of the information that we have here is already pre-populated and it moves straight to the scheduled state. Now we implement the change, and we see these are working as expected. And if we scroll on, we do see 2 change tasks and no approvers because no need for approval. These are again routine changes. So we can go ahead and set the status to complete. Update the record.
Sunil here.
Yes.
I have one here like and a change in the past plan started end date.
The planned and start and end date, no, it indicated the actual start date, which would be today's date. So see if we move it to the review state. So once we move it to the review, it only logs the actual start and end, not the planned and end date, because routine changes. So it wouldn't function as an emergency change. And
so we have 2 tasks. One is close complete, one is close incomplete. If you try to close the CRQ, will it how to close it, or will it ask to close both the tasks and then close it?
Well, let's test that out. Let's see how it is. So now in the review state. So yes, so we have 1 complete, 1 incomplete. I'm gonna save this so we don't lose this number. Let's say decide to close it. We need to put in the closure information. And then update. So date is closed. So it does close. So the state moves to closed.
Okay.
Even if the task is incomplete, it is practice to indicate the state of it, but the change itself closes.
Okay.
Questions? Okay, so it was standard change, and then approvers here, since this is a standard change. We only see the change tasks. Let's try to create a normal change. So the change does require CAB approval. Add a category to software. We'll fill out all the mandatory fields before saving the form. And I'm going to save this change for our records. Okay, so we do see that the state is new. Then I request approval. I do get a pop-up that says a risk assessment must be filled out before requesting approval. Please do so using the link on the bottom of the form. So we have a risk assessment, and we scroll on and we click on fill out risk assessment related link. Again, make our choices here. Then we click submit. Try to request approval again after having filled out that risk assessment. And we do see that it moved the workflow along, so now we're in the assess state. that we have one approver, and we have the risk assessment here that we filled out, say at the bottom of the form. There is Lamb Weston Service Desk, so I need to approve this change before moving along. I'm going to save my record. I am going to impersonate Lamb Weston Service Desk. Navigate to my approvals. See that we have the approval here. So you can click on approved or approve button up here. Update. And impersonate Troy again so we can view our change. So this is our change, and it should move to, so it moved on to the authorized state. If I scroll down at the bottom, I do see that my change was approved by the Lamb Weston Service Desk. Update the record. And it seems like I would need another approval for this change, not move it through the state. So I'll go ahead and impersonate Erica. Which ends in 1-3. I am going to approve it. Okay. And I'll go back and impersonate Troy. And now I do see that it moved it from authorized to scheduled. So we needed 2 approvers for the normal change. And these are defaulted to no longer required. So I'm ahead and implement this change. In the implement state here, then I click on review, and then I will scroll down at the bottom. I do see that we have 2 change tasks. So again, I'm going to set them in different states. One can work in progress, and the other one can be pending. Okay, I'm going to save the record. And if I do decide to close it, again, I do get that pop-up to close, fill in the information in the closure tab. Okay, we do see that the state is now closed. We do see still that the state is work in progress and pending. Ideally, this would be closed, but you have pending, open, work in progress, closed, complete, incomplete, and skipped. We do a list of our approvers and the risk assessment that we have to fill out. And this would be, if the category is software or hardware, you would always have to fill out that risk assessment form that the pop-up for. So you would have to click in here. So let's change. Are there any questions? And more thing, all the templates. So for example, for this normal change, we do have one template here, and if you have the product rights, you can create more templates. So you would have a new button here, and more templates can be added. But this is the only standard change template that we have. These are the fields that were pre-populated when we created that standard change. we'll move to service catalog. And to my PowerPoint. ServiceNow, we have request management, which is the process, the overall process that handles requests, and then we have the service catalog. This is where we have all our, this is where our users can request things from the catalog. This is the structure of request management. So we have our catalog here. And we have the service request, so this acts as the shopping cart, and it is created when we put in our first item. Then we have our requested item, so this can be the item that we're requesting, for example, a laptop. And then have catalog tasks. On the item, we might have one or more catalog tasks, and we have a fulfillment group, a fulfillment team that is fulfilling that task. This is another visual of the service catalog. So again, we have the catalog item. Then we have the request. So the request acts as the placeholder. We have the requested item. That can be, for example, an iPhone or a laptop. And then we have tasks. So for this iPhone, we have one task. That task is to order an iPhone. And for laptop, we have two tasks. Is the request workflow.
That's right.
So
The body, but I think it's installed, and he's just at the point where he's going through the GUI setup, and it's asking questions that he doesn't answer.
I'm sorry, question? Okay.
Invite Bobby and Bobby 20.
So, mute Rajesh from your end. He has muted from his end, but the voice is coming.
Yeah, I'm getting some background noise. Let me
Mute Rajesh.
try to mute some of the lines. Unfortunately, I cannot see who has their line on. So if I could to mute.
Rajesh, I think we're getting background noise from your phone.
And David Groves as well.
So at this time, is there anything that you guys need?
Yeah, I'm not able to see who has their line on. So I ask you to mute your line.
I think right now you guys are holding.
There it is. There's one. Okay. I think we should be good now. All right. So, and we have, and let me make this full screen. So see that within ServiceNow, you would have an approval, a manual approval for your user request. So most of them would require approval, unless sometimes it's an IT request, and then you would see an approval. Then the request. So the requested items, they will close when all the subtasks are complete. So it rolls up. And best practice in working the catalog tasks. So when you're assigned the catalog tasks, first of all, you'd assign it to yourself. So you would click into this field and put your name, and then you would change the state from open to work in progress to indicate that you're working on the task. The best practice, if you have any notes to the end user, you would add them to the additional comments box. Or need to communicate with your fulfillers, you would add them to the work notes. There might be an instance where you would need to reassign the catalog tasks. The task might not be fulfilled by your group. So this is when you would change the assignment group field. You would set in the correct assignment group, and a best practice would be to let that group decide who the assigned to person is. So you leave that field blank. Then when closing the catalog task, if you're the person working on the task, name, again, the assigned to would be your name. You document any additional comments or work notes. For example, if the task is complete, you might want to give some update to the end user who's going to view the updates from the portal. And then you would change the state from open to closed, the way the catalog task is closed. So move back to my instance. And then I'm logged in the portal, and then I'll have the different instance up so we can check the request on the fulfiller side. Go ahead and request something, catalog, and all the categories that we have. If you click on each one of these, the choices here are different. Go ahead and click on the hardware one to computer. We do see some tips here and descriptions on each one of the fields. It's populate who the request is for based on the person that's logged in, and requested by. What type, need to ask the question of what type of equipment you're requesting. I'm going to go ahead and request a laptop. And let me just make sure I am Troy here, but I'm Vaso here. So I'm going to, there we are. So again, these fields are populated based on the person that's logged in. So I'm going to laptop. The request is that I am a new hire. And then provide address to ship computer. So I put in my address. When does the machine need to arrive by? So we can go ahead and select a date, and then additional comments. Then I'm going to submit this request. I had a pop-up here that says that a request was created, and that you can click on this link to view. When we're in this view, we do see that the request has been created. We do see that our requested item is the laptop that we ordered, and this is the requested item number. We need an approval by Teresa Thompson, and this will progress accordingly. So when Teresa approves this request, it would say that the request was approved, and then when it's finally completed, it would move to the complete stage. But this is how the end user would be able to view the request and its stages. Down we do see the request number again, which is also over here. The priority, the price, if there's any associated price with what we're ordering, we would see it here. And we do see that our state is open. Now, any additional comments that would come in from the fulfiller side, they would be populated here, so Troy can communicate with the fulfiller on the status of the request. Now I'm going to go in the fulfiller side, and I'm going to just save this request for my record. And select Teresa. We'll navigate again to my approvals. see that I have an approval for requested item 328, and just to verify, request item is 328. Record, and I do see that there's a request for a laptop, and I can go ahead and approve it. And state. So I'll be able to see the person here more long. So I'm going to refresh my page. Actually, I'm logged in as Teresa because it defaults to the person. I'm going to impersonate again Troy. Okay, refresh my page here. Okay, so let's see. We see these fields are populated. Let me check one more thing. This was approved. But we do see that the request was approved by Teresa, so it moved along in the workflow here. Now I do click on this order laptop. Just able to see the details that we filled out in the form here. But this request has been approved. See what it looks like on the fulfiller side. So I am going to get request number in 278. So we do that, it's up here on top. The information that's pre-filled, we do see that this request was approved and the request date is approved. We do see that was requested for Troy and opened by him. We do see due date and scroll down, we see the requested item. Click on the requested item. I do see that the requested item was a computer. Information here, for example, the fulfillment group for this requested item is the field services support. This is the information that Troy put in through the portal. So the fulfiller, for example, would be able to see that the type was a laptop, this is the address, and this is the due date, as well as any comments that the end user put in here. Now scroll down, I do see that I have one approver, that was Teresa, and she approved the records. We have a log of that, and we have one catalog task. So I'm going to click on the task. And then again, this is where the fulfiller would be able to put in any comments to communicate with other fulfillers. And on this task, and once this task is complete, and if I can assign it to me, click on Close Complete. Then I'm going to put in here the record. To add any comments to the end user about this request, they will to see it on the end user side. So I'm going to update the record. Now we do see that Troy is getting updates here. So it says request automatically closed as all line items were complete. So it does indicate that the request is closed. To progress the workflows. Again, we have the request, which is the placeholder. We have the requested items. So those are the individual items that an end user places through catalog from the portal. And we have the catalog tasks. Those can be one or more that are fulfilled by a fulfillment group. And as we close those tasks, then the request gets closed. And the end user should get updates on what was closed. And then now that we refresh the page, we do see that the stage moves to completed. This means that the request is closed, and they're able to view the status of the request. And these items here, they would have different workflows. So some of them might need approval, some, it depends on how they're set up. This was just one of them that needed an approval, and most of them should. So even software, it depends on how you have it set up. Any Okay. I'm going to stop sharing. I will pause the recording.